You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into the first instant reaction podcast of the season. This, of course, is the Patriot Nation Podcast. It's your boy, Pat Lane, with my guy, Matt St. Jean. And this episode of the Patriot Nation Podcast, as always, is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of CLNS Media. Go sign up at FanDuel.com/Boston today. Matt, football season is back, sir. But not only that, we saw some real exciting players tonight. Real exciting players tonight.
Yes. Most of them in the first quarter, maybe quarter and a half of this game before. What we always have happen in the preseason is then things just really slow down after halftime. Got that buzz of finally being back in football wearing off a bit. But no, it's great to be back and feeling good about some young Patriots in this one.
Yeah, agreed. So, look, we can start kind of all over the place. I think the best thing to do is to go kind of chronologically. Let's start at the beginning, where the Patriots dominated defensively, at least, because they certainly didn't dominate offensively. But where they dominated defensively, it really came down to two guys, and those two guys, in my opinion, were Keion White and Anthony Jennings. Both of those guys, unblockable all night long. Keion White, that hit on the botched pitch was just, mean. Right. It was just rude.
I saw some tweet that was like, Keion White didn't see the football, he saw another victim. And that, I think, summed it up about right.
Well, I think one of those things, and yes, Penny, I've been trying to get Penny Jennings going for like 4 years now, so maybe it'll actually happen now that he's playing one. But, the big thing for me is that play kind of speaks to who Keion White is. Because here's the thing with that play. 90% of guys would be going for the ball. You see the ball on the ground, you're going for it. He wasn't going for the ball. He was going for the man because he understands that he looks at it and says, if I hit this guy hard enough, he's not going to be able to get the ball back. It doesn't matter whether I recover the ball. It just matters whether we recover the ball. And that sounds like some stupid thing that someone would say about teamwork, but that's real. Seems to be really how he feels, and I love it.
Well, I don't know if there was that much thought in his head making that play, but I do know that's a man who's just a one-man wrecking crew out there. He sees things and he hits them. And I want to go back because that's kind of going to be the highlight play here. But I want to go back to, I think it was the second play of the game, third play of the game, something like that. One of the things that Keion White did actually struggle with in college was run defense at points. He's crazy strong, but he didn't always read things correctly. He had a hard time staying on his feet. The Texans threw a double team at him in the running game right away, that first drive. And he stood both guys up with his hands and did not move. And if you get the Keion White that is rushing the passer and hitting guys like we saw tonight, and he requires double teams in the running game, that's a guy who's not going to come off the field on defense.
Right.
And that's a first round type talent who can do that. So incredible stuff. I think he had a lot of splash plays, and I feel bad for those Texans linemen.
Whew, my goodness. And, and I think it was mostly backups, but the thing is, you got your rookie quarterback out there. You're not trotting out your second team offensive line. I don't think, at least.
That was like their start. It's like their 1.5 team.
Right.
Like it wasn't. It was a mix of starters and backups.
To me, it just seems crazy. You got the number 2 pick in the draft. You're throwing him out there against guys that are just getting worked, and Anthony Jennings, thank God he got held on that stunt because he was going to come in and take off Stroud's head, but he got held and was just Yeah,
and Iguodala, when he sacked Stroud, he bent Stroud in a real awkward way. And there was a moment there, it was like, man, this is a first game, first drive in the NFL. And I'm glad he didn't get hurt.
Right. So the other one, the one that, Jalen Mills, of course, isn't a rookie, isn't a young guy, but he's a guy that was making a transition from corner over to safety. And I know he's still listed as a corner, but he's really been a safety. I thought he played very well at safety today. Obviously had the interception, which, yeah, I mean, the interception was a rookie throw, right? He stared him down. He was open. He waited till he like broke out. And then by then Mills had already read it, but still, it was still a nice read by Mills. He also had he had a nice TFL later on, when he was playing there. I thought Mills played well at safety. The hard thing is going to be, can he crack the lineup? Can he make it past the other guys that are in front of him? Because that's one of the deepest rooms in football when you talk about, back end safety group, and you got a guy that's making the transition from corner to safety. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. He might be able to do it. I just don't know if he can.
I think he was better at safety than corner when he played in Philly. I was actually, when the Patriots had originally signed him, I was a little bit surprised that they signed him as a corner. I thought they would bring him into that safety room. You saw why tonight. He has very good instincts against the run. He's a little bit undersized for a guy to play in the box, but his instincts make up for it. Yeah. The energy he plays with, too, is something that stood out. He's like I saw a couple people mention that's all I can think about with him. He's the Kendrick Bourne of the defense. Guy who can be a role player, who can be a slot defender. He's going to bring the energy for you. He's a team leader, and just he got that pick, and that's not what stood out to me. That's that's a play he should make. It's a bad throw, and he makes the right play on it. But then he gathers the defense after, he gets them all into the end zone. They all go celebrate together. This is game one. That's the first possession the defense is out there, and you're setting the tone for the season for that unit right there. I love that. I mean, with all the young guys in that secondary too, setting that tone and that culture for them right off the bat that, hey, we play together, we play with energy, we play with purpose, we love each other on the field. Like, you need that. And I mean, that's how you keep developing guys. That's how you keep your defense good year over year. So I absolutely love that. If there were any doubts about Jalen Mills sticking with this team, I think they're gone now.
Yeah, I agree. And so, but it is. It's like then it becomes, that roster calculus, right? Who goes off and who doesn't make it. And so, is a guy, like Bledsoe, is a guy like Bledsoe not going to make the team, right? So, and I think he was on the bubble anyways, but I think Jalen Mills kind of, first of all, Bledsoe hasn't done much in camp. Last year he was great in camp, didn't really do much in preseason. Ended up, I think, on the IR for the year. Did he not?
No, he came in and played a little bit.
Oh, he did. You're right.
He played in New York.
Good point. Good point. But it's just, I think that at this point, you clearly put Mills over Bledsoe at this point, and so I think you're right. He makes the team, but then it's like, then you got to look at it and say, hey, what do we have? So, where do you go from there? Defensively, I thought
that's a good problem to have.
It sure is. It sure is.
Yeah, and we mentioned that was the Texans, like starters and backups, a mix. It was the same for the Patriots, and the Patriots manhandled them. And it would have been, I mean, the stats don't look good for that Texans offense in the beginning, and it would have been even worse without that egregious passer penalty, which we don't have to get into that here. I think we all know how bad of a call that was. Yeah. But no, defense was fantastic. They had Miles Bryant at free safety at points, which I thought was really interesting. He's not a bad tackler. He's got some speed. I don't think you want him. He's not Devin McCourty. He's not going to play it like that. But I thought it was interesting that they'd put him back there and put Mills in the box. I don't think we're closer to an answer on who the free safety is going to be when they put one guy back there. But I think they have like 6 guys who can do it. Whenever
Miles Bryant drives me crazy. Drives me absolutely crazy. But
he was good tonight, though.
I know it's preseason, but like the thing about Miles Bryant is that he's not super athletic. He's not a great player, but he's going to do what you ask him to do. He has physical limitations, and we know that those exist, but he's not going to make a mental mistake and to completely blow things up for you. He might be able to not physically keep up with someone. If you put him one-on-one with Isaiah McKenzie running across the field, he can't do that. Right. But he can at least make some plays, and he can be in the right spot for you and make plays when he needs to. And so, as much as I don't like Miles Bryant, you have to admit, like he's a guy that is a good role player. He's not a guy that wants starting for the team, but he's a good guy to have as your 50th, 45th to 50th guy on the team.
And he's at your fifth best corner and your fifth best safety on a cheap contract. Who, like you said, doesn't really make mental mistakes. That's
Right.
a good value. Plays special teams, all that stuff. So
Agreed.
yeah,
So all
very
right,
very pleased with the defense.
let's go to the offensive side of the football. I think defensively, even later on in the game, defensively, the only guy really I think that flashed at all defensively later on in the game was Isaiah Bolden. I think played a little bit at corner, looked okay. Didn't look great, but he looked okay.
Yeah,
Jeremiah
he made some
Farms is all over the place making
Yeah.
plays, but there wasn't a ton of guys in that kind of second unit that really did a whole bunch, I thought.
Yeah, and like I think the guy who kind of stood out to me, like Josh Bledsoe played like the entire game,
Yeah.
and I never noticed him. He's a guy who absolutely has a chance to make this roster,
Right.
and you see that, and it's like, all right, if he's not making a case and he's been here for a couple of years, that's probably not a great position for him. I think Bolden was up and down. I want to see how he bounces back. I think joint practices with the Packers this week are going to be huge for him. All right,
Mhm.
how do you bounce back from some of those plays? That back shoulder throw he gave up to Tank Dell in the end zone was not great. I think you'd want to see him cover that better. So see how he adjusts. Amir Speed got a couple reps on defense. Rodney Randall was basically the source of like everything good the Texans did on offense from halfway through the second quarter on. So I think we can rule him out for making this team.
Yeah, I'd say Rodney Randall probably isn't making the team. That wasn't great. So let's flip over to the offensive side of the football. Obviously, people want to talk about Malik. People going nuts in the chat about Malik, saying he should be QB1, all this other stuff. And you know, let's pump the brakes a little bit, right? But it was awesome.
Yeah.
But here's what I'll say: the offensive line, the backups on the offensive line are not good. They're not good. And there are some guys. Here's the problem: there are some guys in there that I think are okay, but as a secondary unit, they're terrible. And so it's like you could, this guy might be all right, and that guy, Mafi might be okay, and and Jake Andrews might be decent at center, and like, Connor McDermott might be okay at right tackle, and like, there are guys like that, but it's like when you put them all together and they're all out there together, it's like, oh my God, that's really bad, and it was very obvious.
And they don't have a strength is the issue. It's not like you can say, all right,
Right.
well, they can't pass block, but at least they push in the run game or something like that. There really weren't any positive takeaways. I got to go back and watch some of the individual linemen and see how they held up to get a better sense for it. But as a unit, I mean, that was not great. And it wasn't until you saw a mobile QB come in that you saw the offense get any life whatsoever. And that, I think, one of the things we were watching coming into this, we got a really good wide receiver battle to watch right now, which I think we got some answers there.
Yeah.
But when we can come back to, we got a really good wide receiver battle. We got a tight end 3 battle, and they were swapping Firkser and Sokol out a lot. And we got a running back battle. They had 3 running backs played, and they were kind of using them interchangeably throughout the whole game. And I don't feel like we learned a whole lot of any of those situations because the line couldn't block and you couldn't see how things were supposed to function. So I think the fact that we still have question marks there is kind of one of the big takeaways from tonight.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. And so Tyquan Thornton makes a great catch down the sideline on a throw by Zappe that, Zoe on the broadcast talking about how great of a throw by Zappe it was. I didn't think it was a great throw. I thought it was an okay throw, but that ball should have gotten there a lot quicker. He shouldn't have had to lay out for it. And if that safety, goes for the hit instead of the ball, I mean, Tyquan Thornton's dead.
It's the second preseason in a row where he breaks the collarbone.
Right. And so, but listen, to go up, know that guy's coming, make the catch, come down with it on third down. It's a nice play. And that's something that we haven't really seen from him in camp. And that was the big talk of camp was like, hey, these rookies look great. We've seen nothing from Tyquan Thornton. And now we saw something from Tyquan. And listen, it wasn't much because you didn't have much of an offensive line. You couldn't throw the ball a ton. But I do think that at least he's shown you enough here where it's like, hey, don't forget, I'm still here, and I still was a second-round guy, and so on and so forth. And so, I think that's
did more than anybody else out there too.
Correct, and that's what it comes down to. Kayshon Boutte played like Boutte, didn't really do anything, couldn't get any separation,
and that's what's tough to tell is that maybe he
Right.
is getting separation on some of this stuff, but there's no opportunities to find him.
Correct.
I will
Yep.
say that Thornton catch too, for as amazing as that catch was, which it was, and that's like you see the frame and everything. Thornton also really struggled with getting off press there, and he did get off. Like he did beat it nicely. It just took him
too long.
like he got like pushed back into the backfield, and then he like hit the swipe move and beat him with it. And that was a nice move. It's just that's part of could be a reason why it's an overthrow by Zappy too, because he's expecting Thornton to be down the field a little bit further.
Right.
And
it's possible.
it messes with and that's the thing. Like and it's preseason. It doesn't matter as much when it's QB1 in a regular season game. You need to establish timing and consistency. That's where that bites you. While we're talking about Thornton, the guy we're not talking about is Pop Douglas, because he basically didn't play. And I think that what that tells us, he's above Tyquan Thornton on the depth chart, and he's making the team. I think we can pretty much lock that in at this point.
Yeah. No, I think, he saw 2 snaps on offense. Like, to me, that's a great sign, because that means we don't need to see it from you. We're going to play you a ton in joint practices this week and next week, and we're going to see it then. Right. And so I think that that's kind of where you're at with Pop Douglas, and it's very similar. I think happened with Marcus Jones last year, where Marcus Jones was running with the ones, went into preseason, didn't play. And we're all sitting there like, what the hell's going on? How come he's not playing? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. And then, we finally got out there and we're like, oh, okay. That's why he didn't have to play a ton, because we could see that. So, I think that was impressive. Zappy looked fine. I thought he looked fine, but again, it's hard to tell how Zappy's going to look because he doesn't have time. He's scrambling all over the place. He's trying to make plays, trying to make throws. It's tough. Trace McSorley is not good. We know that. We knew that. Like, come on. I will say offensive line, someone commented about Andrew Stuber, and I've been very critical of Andrew Stuber. I still don't think he's a good pass rusher, but as a run blocker, he was okay as a run blocker. All right. And so, but I think a lot of those guys, I know, I think a lot of those guys, again, I like seeing Jake Andrews there at center. I think he's their backup center at this point. That's why they drafted him, to take over for David Andrews at some point.
He or Ferentz. And they might roster Jake Andrews, put Ferentz on the practice squad, but if they get a center injury, Ferentz is actually going to come up, back it up if it's short term.
Fire James Ferentz into the sun. Fire him into the sun. I've had enough of James Ferentz.
It's the fourth quarter of a preseason game. The dude's been around for forever. He's getting penalties. I did not love that.
It's just not good. I mean, that's the type of stuff where it's like, come on, dude. So, it's.
And I think Malik Cunningham, I think there's 2 players too who I think have kind of earned a spot in the organization. One of them left the game with an injury, so there's a health thing there. 2 guys who should be there through week 1. One is Malik Cunningham, because you want him on that scout team when you're playing Philly, and the other is Carl Davis, because he's a big man in the middle. And with what Philly likes to do, running the ball, you're going to want him out there, especially if it's short yardage situations. They're going to try to push Hurts through things. You're going to put Godshaw and Carl Davis out there right in that A gap. And that's your best bet against that. So hopefully Davis is healthy, because there's not another guy out there that size, I don't think, that can stop the run for them week 1.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So we'll see. I mean, it didn't look like a serious injury or anything like that. So I think he'll be all right. But he walked off on his own power. Not that means anything, but he did.
Yeah. I want to bring up a couple other things here. One, about Malik Cunningham. He made that great throw to Trey Nixon, and Nixon was not able to catch it. That felt like that was the chance for Trey Nixon. And he was playing, like, starting the second drive, the third drive. He has a real shot to make this team. Like, he could jump Kayshon Boutte in a hurry here and make the team if they wanted to have 6 receivers or whatever. And that kind of felt like maybe still practice squad material, but 53 man's not happening for him. The other thing, for as much as I had mentioned, like, the offensive line made it hard to evaluate some of the guys on offense for the Patriots. The Patriots' defensive front 7 was so good that I feel like it was also kind of hard to judge the secondary. Right. We're not talking about Christian Gonzalez at all. He had a welcome to the NFL moment right away, where he kind of got blown up.
He did,
somebody, and he gave up a catch. And it's like, other than that, we didn't talk about him. I think he was pretty good in coverage, but I think it's time to throw, so I don't really know.
Well, and that's the thing. I will say he did get a little. Nico Collins drops his shoulder, right? And I think Gonzalez was expecting him to go out of bounds, and he didn't, right? Puts his shoulder down and says, "Welcome to the NFL, Rook." But then Gonzalez was, on the play where Mills had the guy, by the undershirt or whatever, right? He came in and laid a nice hit on him. And then, he was in that trail technique, caught a pass over the middle, and Gonzalez, ripped the ball out of him. Now, of course, it ends up going out of bounds. But, that's the type of thing that you like to see from a guy that you didn't really hear. The biggest knock on him was that he wasn't aggressive and he wasn't a hitter and he didn't do this. And so those are the things that you want to see from him. And look, again, it's far from perfect, but I thought that was good. Long way to go. But I thought that was good to see. And again, like you say, you had no time. Just like the Patriots passing offense, they had no time either. Now you look at this the same way, where it's like they have no time, and and so you really can't judge the corners again, except for Randall. We can look at Randall and say, all right, he's got nothing else. He's got nothing going on. So
I will have a couple other words to say on Gonzalez, but I think after a word from our sponsor.
Well, before we go to the word from our sponsor, I do want to do an RIP to Trey Nixon, because Trey Nixon he just doesn't have. I mean, I love you, Trey Nixon. I love it. I love you, man. I've been the conductor of the hype train since the day he was drafted as the final draft pick of Ernie Adams. I believed in him, and this keeps happening, where he gets open consistently. He consistently gets open. He does that. But he gets in these situations where he has the ball and just can't come down with it. And that's the type of thing that just can't happen. And this is it. He's done. And maybe he makes the practice squad again. I don't know. But this same thing keeps happening over and over again, and I can't do it. And it makes me sad. It makes me very sad. So, but anyways, all right, word from our sponsor, and then we'll be back talking, I assume, more Malik Cunningham. Football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/Boston. 21 plus and present in Massachusetts. First online real money wager only. $10 deposit required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Restrictions apply. Max bonus $50 unless specified otherwise. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Hope is here. Gambling helpline ma.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com or call 1-800-GAM-1234. Right, and we are back. And Malik Cunningham, as promised, we talked about it a little bit. I said it the other day when I was at camp. I'm like, I need to see more Malik Cunningham, right? I was at camp on Tuesday. I saw him at QB. I'm like, bro, this kid at QB is fun to watch. He's fun to watch. And so, and look, it was against third string guys. It was the fourth quarter of the first preseason game of the season. However, you look at it and say, man, that he brings a skill set that no other player on the Patriots, no other quarterback on the Patriots has, for sure. And he played, look, he scored 120 touchdowns at Louisville, which is outrageous. And it's outrageous. So, but, let's be realistic about it, right? He's not an NFL quarterback just yet. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't develop him into one. And I think we all knew Trace McSorley was gone. He's been terrible all camp. Like that was a no-brainer that he was gone from the beginning. But now the question becomes, if he plays like this, and if Cunningham gets a chance in the next preseason game and plays like this again, are you going to be able to cut him and get him on your practice squad? Because if I'm a team looking at this guy saying, man, he can make some plays for me. Now, I know DTR made some plays, at the end of the game last week for Cleveland, and there were guys, But to me, I look at that and I say, man, like this kid's got some wheels. He can move. He played well in college, and he's been playing quarterback for the Patriots for a week and a half, and that's what it looked like out there. So, I wonder, he's not going to be a starter anytime soon, right? I don't know if I don't think they're going to put him as the backup over Bailey Zappi, although maybe he will. I don't know. I doubt it, but maybe. But can you afford to let him go if you feel like he has a future here?
Yeah, and it's going to be an open question. We're going to figure out here. I think you saw enough tonight to know. I mean, they've been fiddling with him at wide receiver. He played wide receiver snaps tonight. I think you know enough from this to know he's a quarterback. He's not a wide receiver. I think you want him playing quarterback. I think you want him in your organization somewhere because there's things he can do that other people can't. You saw how the running game opened up the second he was in there. When there's another guy you have to defend, it makes it harder and it makes it easier on your offensive line to block. And I didn't buy into the whole emergency QB thing. Like, we're going to have Cunningham active on the roster so we can do trick stuff, and maybe Zach, you'll be the emergency QB. I didn't buy into any of that. Now there's a little bit of a glimmer there for me because I think he's a good enough of an athlete, and I think he can read defenses well enough that you can put him out there for trick plays. Things like that you want to do. He brings a different element to the offense. So very excited by what we saw from him, and I would like to see him get an extended look at quarterback without some of the option stuff. I want to see what he can do as a drop back passer when they ask him to do some of that stuff. Give him a week to kind of rep some of that stuff in practice and see how he looks.
Yeah. And, and use it in joint practices, right? Or, if you want to look at joint practices and you want to run with Mac Jones in the number one offense, run Mac Jones in the number one offense the entire week at joint practices, and then look at the game next Saturday and say, screw it, we don't need to play Mac and the other guys. We played those guys already all week and face the number one defense against Green Bay. We're not facing the number one defense anymore out there. So, maybe give Mac a series. Maybe just don't play him at all. And then you start with Zappi. Maybe you give Zappi the first half. And if you give Zappi the first half, you give Cunningham the entire second half instead of one drive like he had tonight, right? And so that, I think, that's kind of that next step, right? Let's see him against guys that are backups, not just third stringers that are never going to play. Let's see him against actual backups in the NFL and just see what happens, right? Yeah. Not saying he's going to be great.
Put him out there with guys who were better.
Exactly.
Give him some of these guys who are fighting for roster spots to play with. So I want to see. Maybe they don't do it because they think he's good and they don't want anybody else claiming him. They want to stash him. So
it's too late. Too late for that, in my opinion.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I do have some special teams.
Let's hear it
from tonight. One of them, Behringer, is as advertised. He can boom it. I'm sitting here. Yes, this is definitely a Bryce Behringer jersey, not a Matt Judon jersey. So
a number 9 Bryce Behringer jersey.
Keon White took 99 from Bryce Behringer, and I think we should riot. But
let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about that, because here's the thing: I want Bryce Behringer in 99 so badly, but Keon White is so good and looks incredible in 99.
He does.
That I'm like, I'm sorry, Bryce, but you're the punter, dude. I would love to give you 99, but Keon White is unbelievable. And Dark Blue Gold points out, can we have 299s? Let's do it. Let's give him 299s. Why not?
So here's the thing, too, and I pointed this out on Twitter earlier, but I assuming Christian Gonzalez is going to switch to 0 for the regular season. I feel like everybody's just kind of assuming that. Obviously, Behringer can't stay in 9 because Judon is going to have that. I'd also point out Nick Folk probably getting cut. He is in 6.
Correct.
That's Keon White's college number. So Keon White then switches to 6 now. 99 opens and Behringer can take that. Corliss Waitman's in 15. That's Marty Mabu's college number, so he could take that. If we see Christian Gonzalez switch to 0 and all of a sudden 19 opens up for Chad Ryland to come down, you have all these dominoes falling into place, and they can all get their old numbers.
Yeah, the rookie, I feel like the rookie numbers, it was pretty obvious. The rookie numbers were assigned and not chosen.
Or, because a lot of them are doubled up.
Well, I mean, Isaiah Bolden gets 7 with Juju. Behringer gets 9 with Judon, and Judon commented on Instagram, was like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, Ryland
But
gets 38 with Ramondre.
right, it's just foolish, you know. And then Gonzalez gets 19 with McSorley. So you're like, come on. I think they just said, "Hey, Rooks, oh, we've heard a lot about how great you guys all are. Here are your numbers. We'll figure them out later."
Well,
you know what I mean?
I bet Bill has heard some stuff about like, oh, we're all waiting for the numbers in the preseason. He's like, have fun.
Right? he loves it. Takes joy. Takes pleasure in our pain. So
but the other thing with this, with special teams, Christian Gonzalez was playing special teams, and I think that's notable. I think my video may have frozen.
You did.
Here. Well, I get that figured out. Yeah, well, I get that figured out though. They had him on the opening kickoff in kick coverage, and they had him as a gunner on the punt teams, which I thought was very, very interesting that they're using him there. Also, Amir Speed, personal protector on the punt team, and a gunner, and Bolden was a kick returner out there. So all three of those young defensive backs getting looks.
Right. I agree. And that's the thing for me is that, let that kid play as much as humanly possible, right? One of the other kids who didn't play, the rookie didn't play, was Marte Mapu. He looked like he was charting plays for Steve Belichick, which I think is unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen a defensive guy doing that in a game, which is great. And that's the thing you hear about these rookies, from Gonzalez, to Mapu, to all the way down to Cunningham, is how much they want to learn and how hard they work and what they want to do to be able to learn this game. And I think that, you see that from these different guys, and Mapu has shown it, playing first team linebacker and second team linebacker sometimes, and third team safety, right? He's all over the place. And so that to me is one of those interesting things. And listen, I'll tell you what, someone mentioned trading Zappy. If someone will see what happened last year and want Zappy, sure, take him. Go ahead. Right. And look, realistically, I don't think Malik Cunningham's ever going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, but to be a backup QB in the NFL, why not? Because I feel like Mac Jones looks like he's trending back to 2021 Mac Jones, and hopefully better than that. I think that Bailey Zappi's fine, but ultimately never really going to be like a super impact player. If you can throw Malik, if Mac Jones goes down again, if you just throw Malik Cunningham in there for a few games, you can't play him all year long. But if you throw Malik Cunningham in there for a few games and you look at, hey, we can stretch this out. And like you said, the running game all of a sudden showed up. The line wasn't able to block, but the running game shows up because now the defense has to respect the run by the quarterback, right? And so it spreads guys out more. Now all of a sudden guys aren't coming downhill into those blocking lanes. And so it makes it easier on your offensive linemen. Now, again, none of the starting offensive linemen played. 0 out of 5 of the starting offensive linemen played for the Patriots tonight.
Unless Connor McDermott is, but he was playing left tackle. If he starts, he's going to be at right tackle. So nobody's out there at their spot.
Correct. And so that's the thing. It's hard to know. And that's you see Pierre Strong out there tonight, who ran hard, but you couldn't see what was going on because they were getting hit at the line every time. He was in that drive with Malik Cunningham, and I was impressed with how hard he ran. I thought Kevin Harris had a few nice runs. JJ Taylor is, he's not long for this world either, but it is what it is.
I think it's notable that they brought JJ Taylor in for all those screens and stuff, and they weren't using Pierre Strong for that. And I know we've talked a lot about Pierre Strong as like a guy in the passing game, but where he was used in college, he was like an every down, run it between the tackles or outside zone kind of guy, because he has home run speed and this straight line speed. And if he breaks it through a hole, he can take it. So we think Pierre Strong can do all that passing stuff, but even if he doesn't, he's a great lightning to the thunder that is Ramondre Stevenson.
I agree.
And a guy who can create some big plays for you throughout the season. So he's a guy, he needs a head full of steam. You need to give him space to work. He's kind of like LeGarrette Blount in that way, where he's not, there's guys around his feet when he gets handed the ball, he's not going anywhere. He's not like Ramondre, or he's not like some of the quicker backs.
Yeah, I agree.
You need to give him 2 or 3 steps in a row to get going.
And T. Cole says that people said Jalen Hurts was an NFL starter too. Here's what I will say to that. Jalen Hurts played at Alabama and then was a Heisman finalist at Oklahoma. So it's a little bit different. It's not quite the same, right? It's not quite the same thing. So, I listen, again, I don't want to throw water on this, right? I don't want to be excited about Malik Cunningham. You should be. He's an exciting player. We don't get to be super excited about guys a ton, athletic, crazy freaks like this a lot. And so be excited about him. But let's not say that, we're going to trade Mac Jones and Malik Cunningham as the starting quarterback and so on and so forth. So still,
nothing like that.
It was fun. The one last thing I'll point out is on Houston. Tank Dell is a guy I wanted the Patriots to draft so badly. And he just put Rodney Randall in a blender tonight and just ate his lunch and, stole his lunch money and anything you could possibly do to Rodney Randall, he did to him. And it was just rude, in my opinion. And he had that great back shoulder catch against Bolden, which was decent coverage, but it was a great throw and a great catch. Tank Dell looks like the real deal in Houston.
Yeah. When Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, Demario Douglas are like the top shelf, middle shelf, and low shelf versions of the same prospect. So any of those guys, I would have been happy. But Tank Dell is doing well in Houston, and I think he just sent Rodney Randall back to the CFL.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's what we got. Before we leave, though, we do have a trivia update. So our trivia answer from last week, it was a great trivia question last week. Trivia question last week was 3 players are tied with the most 2-point conversions in Patriots history. We wanted you to name one of them. The first one to do it was Gary, right? Was it Gary Sauerbutz?
Gary Sauerbutz. He named Julian Edelman. The other correct answers were Jacoby Myers and Gino Cappelletti. All 3 of those guys have 4 2-point conversions for the Patriots. We got another trivia question tonight. We're going to be capping the show with, I think we're going to be back early next week. Is that our plan?
I would say early next week. Yep. Yeah, we might even try to get a guest on. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so we'll be back early next week. But until then, our trivia question, as always, we're going to ask a question. First person to give us an answer in the chat somewhere is going to win an entry to a drawing we're going to have for some Patriots-related prize down the road. We're going a themed question today because the Patriots played the Texans as a franchise that started in 2002, the newest franchise in the NFL. Our question: which Patriot scored the team's first ever touchdown against the Houston Texans? I asked this one to Pat earlier. He did not get it right.
I did not know. I had an idea of when the time frame was, but I couldn't guess the player. So Gary asked the question about what does he get. Just as a reminder, if you answer first in the chat, now if someone gets it in the live chat here, then they will have the live chat. If they don't get in the live chat, it will be someone that comments on the YouTube after the fact. And so what will happen is that you'll be entered in, you'll get a drawing, your name will go into a drawing, and we will pull a winner to win something from the pro shop. Towards the end, mid, I think we're going to do it twice. So probably mid-year, and then we'll do it again at the end of the
year. Maybe we'll do one at the bye, one after the end of the season type of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So listen, that's going to do it for us. We're going to be out of here, but don't go away. Okay. Yeah. Don't go away because Taylor Kyles and I believe John Zanis is going to be here as well. They're going to be giving you their 5th quarter breakdown on here as well. So do not miss that as well. Stick around on the CLNS YouTube page. Yes, sir.
And I want to put out Gary comments here. So I'm in the draw now then. Yes. And also for every time you get it right, you get another entry.
That's correct.
If you come to all of our shows, you sit to the end, you answer the trivia question right every time, you're going to get a ton of entries, and you're going to be able to win a nice prize at some point in here.
Also, we need you to be specific with first and last names, please.
Yeah, yes, we'll clarify here. If this was a passing touchdown, the fact that Tom Brady threw it doesn't mean he's the one that scored it. It's the person who goes into the end zone with the ball.
That is correct. Correct.
Yes. So that's what we're doing here. But yeah, so make sure first and last names. That way we're not getting players confused here. But yeah, we'll be back some point next week. You'll see John
also
Taylor and
very quickly, Keon White said he wants to improve on playing the game faster. Just need to play fast, put my head down and go. Man, if that's him playing slow, Holy crap! So,
Put him in the hall. Get that gold jacket ready.
That's
Start
right,
sizing
baby.
it up.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but a great, look, they lost. It doesn't matter. Oh, by the way, I went 2-0 on my bets. 2-0 on bets so far this year. Killed it. I picked the under tonight because, come on, that's the easiest bet of all time. And I also said that the first score of the game would be a home team field goal. How about that? Crushed it. 2-0 to start the year. That must mean I'm going to go undefeated the rest of the year. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Stick with me and we'll be rich. It'll be awesome. I'm sure nothing will go wrong. So by the way, no one in the chat has gotten it just yet. So keep guessing and we'll go from there. All right, guys. Thank you. And we will see you early next week.